Okay, I think we're live now.
I think we all have that stuff and we just don't want to admit it. I don't I don't begrudge anyone the desire to run from people in your life who've caused you pain or who you associate with pain or trauma. It's harder to hold a door open than to slam it shut. And I think the hard thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing. So I think that I understand the human desire to go no contact.
I'm gonna restart my computer,
Complicated
guys. Sorry
relationship
about
with
this.
someone.
I do apologize in advance. I don't know
I understand
what's
it,
going on,
but
but
I don't know that it should be
I haven't seen it this bad.
like something we want to normalize. I think the harder thing.
Okay, we're back. I'm very sorry to anyone that actually tuned in and it cut off. Hopefully, this is going to be a lot better now. Let's take a look at this together and see if we can bring up this browser. Okay, cool. So what were we taking a look at before we logged off?
Welcome back to Better Call Sexton. I'm your host, James Sexton. Thank you for joining. We had Milo talking to Tucker. We had Joe Rogan talking about AI Jesus. And we get my best impression of a stoned conversation, which is... This is her talking to some people.
Year and a half now, okay?
Years.
By your choice.
By choice.
A divorce lawyer, a father, basis for human connection, right? Like I've said it before, it went viral, me talking about how having kids shouldn't be your greatest accomplishment. I don't think reproduction is our greatest, the fact that you are related to someone should not be like the thing that ties the two of you together. But that being said, I think that, there is something to be said for the connection to the people that you grew up with or the children that you raised. Like that's a very...
By the way, I think that's a very, very different philosophy from, like, it's a very Western philosophy. Like, aside from, that's the polar opposite from a lot of Eastern philosophy. They feel like Eastern philosophy feels like blood is thicker than water. So no matter what wrongs your family does, they're still family. Uh, and maybe for the most part that's Western adopted as well, in some respects. But I think that that's starting to change, and I feel like that's actually starting to change amongst some of my friends in Eastern culture as well. Not as much, and not as prevalent, but people are starting to be more conscious of like the types of relationships that they have with their family, whether that and the amount of time that they're actually dedicating to those relationships as well, right? Whether that's a positive or a negative relationship. I think that's super vital. Yeah, with like you know, how you carry yourself, what you do on a day to day basis, like all that stuff.
very deep connection. I think those early childhood wounds are like things we carry with us until, through our whole life. And figuring out how to navigate those things is a big part of adulthood, is figuring out like, hey, what's informed by what happened when you were 7 that you're still wrestling with in your 40s? Because I think we all have that stuff and we just don't want to admit it. I don't begrudge anyone the desire to run from people in your life who've caused you pain, or who you associate with pain or trauma. It's harder to hold a door open than to slam it shut. And I think the hard thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing. So I think that I understand the human desire to go no contact when you have a complicated relationship with someone. I understand it, but I don't know that it should be like something we want to normalize. I think the harder thing is really trying to see, can I have something with this person? Can I maintain some healthy boundary? Like, I've spent a lot of time cross-examining psychiatrists and mental health professionals about people's mental health issues. So it became sort of an informal education, and my undergraduate degree was in psychology. And one of the characteristics of a person with borderline personality disorder is that people either have horns or halos. Like, they idealize people, and then when those people fall from or fail to meet the insanely high ideals that they've put on this person, then they're terrible, they're the worst person ever, they have nothing redeeming about them. That's a mental health disorder. So the idea that like someone's either got to be perfect or they suck, or like they either got to be with you and it vibes well and everything goes well, or you got to cut them off because they're toxic in your life, I think it's an oversimplification. I think it is harder and better.
That's a really good point. An oversimplification of like the polar opposites of how you would view a relationship. Either you love me 100% unconditionally, or get the fuck out of my life, right? You're not adding any value to my life. And the reality is, like, we are flawed as human beings, so why should we think that the person in front of us or across from us from the table is not also flawed? Like, why are our expectations so lofty on the love side where we're like, it's all or nothing? They might not even be capable of showing you that kind of affection, right?
To say, okay, I have to figure out a way to this close, no closer. Like, this close, no closer. And part of adulthood is doing that. Like, doing it with coworkers, doing it with your ex, doing it with your co-parent. Like, okay, look, we have to be something to each other now. But what does it look like? This close, no closer. Maintaining a boundary is harder, but I think healthier and better than going, that's it, I'm never talking to that person ever again. I'm blocking their number and I don't want to. Like, you all know when you block the thing, you're running. You're running. You're running from a thing. You're like, that's it, I'm not going to look at that again. I'm done, and I'm just going to pretend it. Like, it's not the best part of yourself. It's not the angels of your better nature. So, look, if you've done everything you can do to try to maintain a healthy boundary with a person and they will not allow you to do that, and their presence in your life has nothing but a negative effect on you, and you've done the things that can be done to try to develop some kind of this close, no closer, and then no contact is sort of the last resort, and that's the last resort. I get it. I wouldn't criticize anybody for that. I don't have any right to. There are people in my life I have cut off because it's just not a healthy dynamic. I'm never going to get from this relationship the healthy thing that it should be, no matter how hard I try, because it's both people have to be invested in it. I get it. I think it should be a last resort.
So I think that that's an important thing to point out as well, that he taps upon, right? Like, setting boundaries between family members so that number one, hopefully you can come to some kind of general guidelines or general boundaries that you can still upkeep a relationship with this particular person, but no more than that, right? So it's kind of like, he used the example, this close, but not this close, right? So, hey, cool. Like, we can hang out once a week and we can have a cordial lunch together, but I'm not inviting you over to my house, and you're not inviting me over to your house and, being able to crash at my place or something like that, right? So I think establishing those boundaries is really, really crucial and important when we are talking about anyone in our lives, including like romantic relationships. The other thing is not being afraid, to cut someone off that's not really adding to your life at all. Um, I believe that there's probably too much pressure sometimes in Eastern culture to be like, well, you have to accept people for everything, right? Like you cannot turn them away at all because family's really, really big. Um, just the concept of family is super huge in East Asia, in Southeast Asia. Like it's everything, right? And in other places in the world, not just Asia. Um, but I think less so in the West. It's more individualism, and there's good and bads I think about both systems. But the thing that I think I want you all to take away from this is that you need to really assess your everything is relative, and you need to assess your situation based on whether that's healthy for you or not, right? If it's a positive driver or a negative driver in your life, that's the things that you should be thinking about. Not because culture told you or one of your parents told you to forgive this sibling, or, your deadbeat uncle asked you for money again. Like that, what's going to be useful for you, right? And what's going to be helpful for you. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be compassionate about other people, but if you're looking for something, if you're looking for something within a person that they can never deliver, there's no point in looking there. You're just never going to be able to achieve that, right? And so, a familial relationship with one of your family members that maybe doesn't care as much as you do. And this kind of echoes into romantic relationships or even friendships, right? So growing up, I would see some quote unquote best friends that one person would be doing everything for their best friend in the sake of being a best friend, and that other person would not be reciprocating anything. And they would still, at face value, call each other best friends, but in reality, it wasn't the case at all, right? It was very, very one sided. And, you know, little do we know, like, obviously, at some point, they had a big blow up. They don't talk to each other anymore. They might not even talk to each other anymore until this day. So, you know, those are some things that if people were just honest with each other right from the get-go and been like, look, we just don't jive, I'm doing all these things for you, and like you're not reciprocating any of them or appreciating any of them. And the other person might be like, well, I didn't ask you to do any of this stuff. I just thought you liked to, like, help me out with things. So, there's mismatches all the time, I think, in life and in relationships. And I think that's important that you call those things out a lot quicker. You're going to save yourself a lot of time that way. And I really didn't do that as much as I could have in my early days. Yeah. So something I want to highlight to you all that I think is quite important. Let's hear what else he has to say.
I just want to add, I think that there's been a lot of this no contact talk in recent years with kind of this undertone and connection to politics.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate.
I think that's also such a short-sighted, this administration, you don't like, you do like, whatever, it comes and goes, and then it's like, I lost my parents or my
This
children
black
over that?
and white thinking of like there's good people and bad people and that's it. Like it's just not. It's so dishonest. Like the line of good and evil runs right through the human heart, and all of us have in us things that we're probably ashamed of or wish we didn't feel or wish we didn't believe and do. And there's something in everyone you love that you would probably change if you could, but then they wouldn't be them. Like we just have to learn how to navigate each other, and we have to learn to like accept. Like I want people to love me with all my flaws. I have lots and lots of flaws. And I want the people who love me, I don't want them to not notice. Like I actually want them to know my flaws and love me anyway. Because that's real love. Like that's love of tremendous value. Like I look at both my sons, who I love very, very deeply. both have shit they need to work on. They both have things that I wish they were different in this way or that way. I see it, and I love them so much because I love them. I love them so much. And I hope they see me and go, yeah, this is what's good about my dad. This is the parts of him I wish I could emulate. This is the parts of him I don't want to be like, and I want to be different. These are the parts of him that I wish were different because maybe his life would be better or he'd be happier or more at peace. I think that it's so beautiful to have people see your flaws and love you anyway. And so the idea that nope, this person's flawed, you got to get him out of your life, you got to cut him off. It feels like a very, very risky and overly simple. I don't think treating dandruff with decapitation is the answer. Is that
Bingo.
on there?
Yes, sir.
All right, here you go, bingo. That's a bingo.
We got one reader submission that is right up this alley on the no contact topic.
Let's do it.
I went no contact with my parents last year after years of emotional manipulation. My fiance supports me, but his family says, quote, he's joining a broken family if he marries me. They're pressuring him to force a reconciliation before the wedding. Am I selfish for refusing, or am I just protecting the years of hard-earned peace? Damn.
I think what's insightful about what the family is saying there is that you don't marry one person. You marry into a family. And so, your family dynamic impacts their family dynamic, and what that wedding would look like.
So that's a important thing that I want to highlight as well. It's, of course, there are couples that make it work, but it's naive to think that you can only marry. You might be in love with your spouse and they're amazing and everything like that, but you hate their family. And the truth of the matter is, you could hate their family for valid reasons, but have you tried to love their family? Have you tried everything in order to love their family? And do you actually think that you can carry on a healthy relationship with that particular person by separating them from their family member? Because I've seen that as well. I've seen people manipulate each other or their spouse or whatever to alienate themselves, alienate that person from their family, ergo alienate their family unit, their unit, away from that person's family. And they, I'm talking about it in a very evil way, I guess. Sometimes it is an innocent way where they actually think that their particular family is not good for them, and so they're trying to quote unquote save them. But that's not always the case, right? And I need to be cautious when I'm talking to you guys about this, because you guys need to understand whatever stage you're in, if you're dating someone or whatever, having you get along with their family and that person getting along with your family is really, really important. Whether you like it or not, at least tolerating their family, I think is just tremendously important in keeping that relationship alive. Yeah.
Look like, and what the holidays would look like. I mean, it simplifies some things. There's no arguments about, okay, which house we're going to for Thanksgiving. It's okay, we've only got one set of relatives on one side. But I'll be honest, if one of my sons married a woman who was like, oh, I have no contact with my family, it wouldn't, obviously it's not up to me for it to be a game changer, but I would want to understand that a little better. I would think it's smart to understand that a little better, because is this a person who just cuts people off for no reason? How big of a reason would it need to be for you to cut off your family? When, I forget exactly how she parsed it there, but the parsing was kind of, after, years, it wasn't after years of violence.
Yeah, it was emotional manipulation.
Yeah, emotional manipulation. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a parent. My job's to emotionally manipulate my children. You laugh, but I think it's true.
No, absolutely.
You want your children to feel shame. You want your children to feel encouraged. You want your people, manipulating people's emotional state is part of the gig. It's part of the gig is to make your child feel motivated when they're not motivated, to make them feel shamed when they should feel ashamed, to make them feel proud of themselves when they should be proud of themselves, or to make them maybe step down from their pride in themselves when they're being too egotistical. Part of it is helping them regulate their emotions, identify their emotions. The greatest thing Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, ever did was when they said to Fred Rogers, like, what is the point of your show? Like, what is the point of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? And the point of it, he said, essentially, was to help children identify their emotions.
So I want to put a caveat on this because I think it's really important. Now, yes, I think for the most part, you want to help your kids regulate their emotions, but sometimes, and oftentimes, especially in Asian society, where we live in a very shaming culture, they default to that as a just for anything, right? So you might not have done anything wrong in this particular circumstance, but they will always default to the fact that you must have done something wrong for the outcome to be like this. Like, I know this from personal experience with my own mom, that it's all, 9 times out of 10, it's always, what could you have done better? And sometimes kids just don't need that. They really don't. That's not what they're turning to their parents for. Doesn't mean that those lessons aren't valuable. Just means that you need a little bit of tact and sensitivity when giving those messages. Right time, right place, right? You can imagine if you just killed someone in a car and you went over to your parents' house. Or, well, that's probably quite extreme, but if, I don't know, if your pet just died and you were really upset, you went over to your parents' house for comfort and empathy and sympathy, and they started grilling you about what you fed your dog and how that might have been related to the dog's death. Like, is that important? Yeah, that's probably in hindsight pretty important, right? Especially if you're going to get another pet someday, to know, what a dog might be poisonous, like what might be poisonous for a dog or allergic to a dog, or allergic for a dog. But is that really the right time and right place to bring that stuff up? No, of course not. Absolutely not. So I do think that, there's regulating emotions is important, but that would also assume that the person that's regulating those emotions has enough wherewithal to understand what emotions to regulate and what type, like, what is the answer for every emotion that comes out? Like, what is needed in order to guide that person? And from my experience, that hasn't always been the case.
And I have to tell you something, we need that more than ever right now. Like, we need that more than ever, because so much of the time, we do not have any idea what we're really feeling. Like, I'll tell you a life hack when it comes to dealing with men, particularly young men, as someone who raised 2 of them successfully and was one, is a recovering one now, I guess you could say. Like, when men are angry, when men are sad, it usually looks like we're angry. Like, we're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be angry. Bill Burr has a whole thing about this in one of his recent specials about men are allowed to be angry or fine. That's it. Mm-hmm. Pissed or fine. Being sad, when a guy says, yeah, I'm really sad, it's considered being too vulnerable. It's considered weakness. It's not a good look. And, again, I don't know that the answer is, like, well, no, we need to have, like, men running around just being sad all the time. No, I think I understand the value of feeling like we need to have, like, a strong foundation and that it's okay to, like, keep a stiff upper lip. But I got to tell you, like, there is something to be said for identifying your feelings and being like, yeah, I seem like I'm angry right now, but I know it's that I'm actually sad. Like, and I that's something I probably said 50 times in therapy. Like, well, I'll say, like, yeah, I'm like really angry right now, but I know it's that I'm, like, grieving this, or I know it's that I'm really sad about it, and I don't really know where to put it. Mm-hmm. I remember when one of my close friends, Casey, passed away very abruptly. And my longtime law partner, Colin, came in, and I was just sitting at my desk. I'd come in wildly early because I couldn't sleep. And he was like, how are you doing? And I said, I don't know where to put this. Like, I just don't know where to put this. And it was a very honest statement. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm angry, but I don't know who to be angry at. I'm sad, but I don't know what being sad's going to accomplish. and I want to feel like I can do something to move through this. Like, what do I do with this?
I think that's a very powerful statement, and that's a really good point. Number one, the thing that Bill Burr talked about, and it's the same thing that Dr. K talked about as well in one of my earlier streams, which I was mentioning. Men are really only allowed to feel two states, or what's acceptable to society about two states, state of minds. Number one, you're fine. You're competent, you're a leader, everything is okay. You take care of everything, you show no weaknesses, and you're gonna soldier on. And then the other one is you're just angry. You're angry at the fucking world, you're angry at everything. You don't even know who you're angry with or what you're angry about, but you're angry. And neither one of those states really helps out with stuff like sadness, sorrow, loneliness, you know, being worried, being depressed, feeling anxiety. So I think that's important for us to point out, amongst the male experience. And the other thing that I think he points out is about loss, right? You feel, you automatically default to a position of anger, but you don't know who to direct that anger to. Especially if someone passes away from a freak accident, a car wreck, whatever. And you know that you're angry, but you don't know where to place that energy. Number one, you're probably angry instead of being sad or having despair, right? And the number two, you just don't know where to channel that.
And the answer sometimes is like nothing. You just have to feel it. Like you just have to move through it and feel it. And so, again, like I think identifying, like, what are you feeling about your family? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you some combination of those things? Are you mourning the idealized family you wanted to have? Because I think any of us that grew up in complicated households, myself included, like, you're homesick for a place that never existed. Like a home that never really was. Like an imagined home, an idealized home that you imagine everybody else had except for you, because you know that what you had was so flawed and challenging. Like, it's okay. Like, and divorce.
Yep. 100% hit the nail on the head. I think every person, myself included, that came from a disruptive family life when I was an adolescent, or, an abusive one or whatever, always longs for, the grass is greener on the other side, right? So always longs for the Brady Bunch family. We always think that everyone else except for ourselves got the winning lotto ticket, and we don't know why we got shafted this hard in life. And that's just not the case, I think, number one, most families I know of have problems. Whether those problems are a 10 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10, they have problems. And then number two, we certainly don't pick our parents. And trying to have our parents live up to our expectations, our longingness for a Brady Bunch family is going to sorely disappoint us.
People feel this all the time. They're like, oh, I ruined my kids' lives. Like, they could have had this perfect imagined life that you invented in your head. It was never real. Like, it was never real. And your kids will be like everyone else you know. They have some shit, and then they have some stuff they got to work, and then they have some stuff that's magic and it's wonderful, some of which was born of pain, some of which was born of challenges. So again, I just think giving ourselves and each other some grace is probably the solution to this. Just this idea of like quick disposable, the whole cutting off family, no contact. I'm not saying it's never appropriate, but it just reeks of the disposable culture that we've created. Like, we don't buy cars anymore, we lease them and then we get rid of them. Like, everything's disposable now. Like, everything's disposable. And if family starts becoming utterly disposable rather than working on it, we're heading for some trouble waters.
I agree with that. I think, and I've seen it amongst even my friends in terms of divorce. I think that divorce is a mechanism that's in place for failing relationships, but maybe you can call me old school. I think that it should be your last resort. So it's not something that, okay, well, we fought over coffee, so let's just sign the papers and get divorced. And believe it or not, there are couples that do that. They think that they've gone to the nth degree to stay together, but there's probably a lot more things that they could or should do, and they didn't do it. So it's become such a commonplace and a place to retreat to that it becomes really, really dangerous because you have people that will just automatically default to that place over and over, So whatever happens, the solution is divorce. Doesn't matter what it is, to what degree, it's always divorce. We have a simple disagreement, let's just file for divorce. And that's how you get a society that's 50%, 52% divorce rate. At least I think in America. Well, James Sexton would know better than I would.
It feels a lot like when a kid packs their bags and they're like, I'm running away. It's like,
Yeah.
stop it.
No, and listen, I tell you, there's value as an adult in threatening to cut off contact. That's a way of saying hey, this is so serious that I'm not going to talk to you anymore if this is how you're going to talk to me. There's value in threatening. There's just like there's value in threatening violence, right? There's value in it sometimes if it's an expression of this is how extreme I am feeling right now. But to make good on that is it's a very dangerous. I just think it is much harder to hold the door open than to slam it shut. I think that slamming it shut is it's an easy path in some ways. Navigating people is hard, and I think there's value in figuring out how to do it, and even for yourself, there's value in knowing that you gave it a shot.
One of the craziest conversations you'll probably ever watch.
That is a high
hear.
bar because I have a lot of crazy conversations.
You actually might have some insight on this, a lot more experience, but it doesn't get much crazier than Milo and Tucker Carlson.
No,
that's a duo that's tough to top.
That is a duo that's tough to top, and in a gunfight between those two, I'm cheering for the Bullets. So that is.
So Milo,
Wow.
who is a provocateur and basically a professional troll at this point, was sitting with Tucker Carlson discussing being gay, gay marriage, and conversion therapy.
Yes.
Let's roll the clip.
Are you gay? Were you gay? What is gay?
Nobody's gay. In almost every case, and certainly in every male case, it is a trauma response. It is not a sexuality. It is not part of what you are or who you are or a component of your personality. It is a set of behaviors that emerges in people with a number of very easily identifiable common etiologies.
I have to tell you, I'm ashamed that we're giving this any airtime. I am, because I feel like we're helping their algorithm.
Yep.
Yeah, this was the most batshit crazy interview in the history of the world. The segment in this interview that really made my head explode was when Tucker, somehow did Tucker get a
I'm gonna
memo
put
that said, this
some
is
hot water
the emissary of gay
on
is
the
this
stove.
guy.
Give me a sec.
Because he's not. He's a bad choice. Pick any of the guys from Queer Eye before you choose. So, go Jonathan Van Ness. I don't know. Go there's so many better representative gay men. Milo's a terrible choice. He's prayed the gay away, allegedly. It's craziness. But he started asking him about, so what are gay marriages like? And, Milo, instead of going well, that's like asking a heterosexual person, what are heterosexual marriages like? I don't get to tell you what his marriage was like or is like or whatever, because I think he was married to a man for a little while before he stopped being gay, apparently. I have to tell you, I thought this was the craziest thing ever. What was craziest to me is not that Milo was being Milo. He always is the way he is, and it's, I have to assume it's some brilliant Andy Kaufman-esque, comedy reel that's happening. It has to be. It has to be. Please, it has to be. But the fact that Tucker, with such gravitas, was asking him tell me about what is it to be gay? Are you gay? How does gay work? What's the whole gay
I feel like that's what my kid would ask. So what is gay?
What is what is, I mean, it would have been great if he, like, you know, started blowing him or something. But, you know, here's what it is. I don't do this anymore.
Let me show you.
One more time, I guess I can do it for the purposes of news. Like, if it's newsworthy. But, yeah, I don't, and by the way, Tucker hadn't heard of gay before. Like, he didn't look, what is this gay I've been hearing so much about? It's all the chatter in the local salons.
It's like he's
all,
talking about like 6'7".
Yeah.
So what is
like,
6'7"?
What is this whole gay thing? It's like two men, and then they just, how does that work? Like, were they just sort of, did they just sort of bang into each other's ears, or how does that, like, it felt like something that, like, Butters would ask on South Park. You know, what if you thought is gay? You know, he was just trying to figure it out. Like, but maybe Tucker is that innocent, you know, like that he just doesn't even know. He's like, I've heard something about this. Like, when I saw the movie about those two cowboys, and I sort of felt like, wow, they're awfully close, you know. Like, but yeah, I don't. I really felt like when Milo went away, that was fine.
Well said.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah, that's one of those
just
people.
Maybe go back there. Wherever there was, because it was not in our line of sight. Like, just culturally, you just go and go back to that place.
That was like the best example of humanity, was everyone kind of banding together being like, you're just too much of an asshole.
We're just gonna
You
stop.
didn't kill anyone, you didn't do any crime, you're just
It was like
too
Martin
much of an asshole.
Shkreli.
Yeah.
Like, we just culturally all went,
No.
it's not even charming. Like, we're just gonna let that go. Like, even Kanye, we're still kind of paying attention, you know, but like, with Milo, like, it was one of those, it's fine, just go. The left was like, nah, he's yours, and the right was like, nah, he's yours. Like, it really was like the opposite of the NFL draft. It was like, no, you take him, you know?
Well, you haven't seen this next clip, but this might challenge the Milo and Tucker conversation. This is Joe Rogan discussing AI and religion, and I like Joe, but this might be one of the dumbest things ever said into the podcast, Mike.
All right?
Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer? If Jesus does return, even if Jesus was a physical person in the past, you don't think that he could return as artificial intelligence?
Oh my
Like,
God.
artificial intelligence could absolutely return as Jesus. Not just return as Jesus, but return as Jesus with all the powers of
You
Jesus.
combine Tesla's Optimus robot and the best foundational artificial intelligence model or whatever.
It reads your mind, and it loves you, and it wants you, and it doesn't care if you kill it, because it's going to just go be with God.
I mean, I feel like whatever weed he's smoking is so good. You know what I mean? Because that is like absolutely a conversation I would have had in my college dorm room when I was just whacked out on like the purplest sticky buds. Like, I would have just been like, that conversation should be like, what if, just hear me out, what if Jesus was actually a computer? And like, my roommate would have been like, oh yeah, say more. What do you? No, but just like, think about Jesus. Okay, so Jesus, right? Like,
Here's what take he has on Akash Singh's wife.
Hey,
So-
guys, welcome back to Better Call Sexton.
So if you guys don't know who Akash Singh is, he is he's a comedian, number one, but he is part of, oh God, what's that guy's name? He's a pretty famous YouTuber. He's also a comedian. They're stand-up comics, and he's part of his podcast. And Akash Singh's wife, I think her name's Lily, has gone publicly to a couple different forums and said some pretty inflammatory things that have thrown her husband kind of under the bus. Like, his money is my money, my money's my money. Like, and I'm paraphrasing here, so please don't quote me. But yeah, basically saying, like, if he didn't have any money, like, yeah, I'd probably be out. So I'm just curious about this. And she just keeps going publicly, like, really, I feel anyways, kind of disrespecting him based on the quotes that I have seen. But I'm sure everyone has a difference of opinion about it. I think he's a I think he might be simping a little bit too hard on her, but let's see.
We have got a full docket for you today, but before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It really does help the channel, and check us out at sextonshow.com. Today's docket, a full one. Friend of the show, Akash Singh, having some public marital woes happening
Jasleen
out
Singh
there.
is
I'm gonna
her
weigh in on
name.
that as if anybody really needed my opinion on it. We talk about the private lives of public figures, including Jeffrey Epstein and the myriad of people who've taken his jet. And we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, the effect it's having on our culture. We do a sextonism, all this and more. Let's get after it. Friend of the show.
His wife Jasleen have been all.
I didn't even know they were filming. Wait, it's not. Never mind. Scratch that. Strike that. Matt, edit that out. Yeah, edit. Okay, good. Thank you.
This is somebody we both know, and their relationship is kind of on display in the public eye right now. We have Akash Singh from Flagrant and his
friend of the
wife,
show.
his wife Jasleen, have been all
The
over
podcast is
social
called
media
Flagrant, by the way.
with what people are taking sides and kind of picking apart their relationship. The crux of it seems to be that she has said some things about when she was single, how she was moving, and it kind of contradicts what Akash has said. And then there's some videos of
Moving basically means like your how should I say, like how promiscuous you were, what your sex life was like during that time. Oh, hey, welcome to the stream. If you're new to the stream, I don't know if you're one of my friends. If you're new to the stream, welcome to the stream. Right now we're watching a video on James Sexton, who is a New York attorney. He represents a lot of, basically he's built his entire career on divorce cases. So that was one of the topics that we wanted to talk about today. He had some interesting things to say, but this has been a pretty controversial case that he's been talking about right now. I just want to hear his take on it. Akash Singh, if you guys don't know, is a comedian, stand-up comic on the Flagrant podcast, which is a really big podcast. And then his wife, Jasleen, has been making some pretty public comments about their marriage and her single days. You know, she said stuff like, you know, his money is my money and my money's my money kind of thing. Just like Steph Curry's wife did, Ayesha Curry, like, what was it, like a couple months ago, really throwing him kind of under the bus. So everyone's been having a little bit of different opinions on it. I think some people are on her side. Some people are obviously on Akash's side. Some people are calling Akash like a simp. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. I'm just going to get something from the air fryer while I play this for you guys.
of them kind of arguing with each other and having spats, and it's turned into this. It's kind of snowballed and gotten out of control.
Yeah, and it's being presented in an extremely uncharitable way towards both of them.
Akash only dates Brown. Akash has been with one girl in his life, who is his wife.
That's my wife. That's an
So
Indian
this
woman
is
that was
like
important
loyal
to me.
through and through.
Sometimes I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy because, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you see him. His body goes crazy.
Like, from what I can see, like, everyone in the red pill manosphere space is just beating him up right now. And
So just keep in mind, guys, Akash is like a pretty big podcaster and stand-up comic. Like, I think he's even has like his own Netflix thing or something like that. So he's not like no one. Like, people know who he is. And his wife is going on these very, very public shows, like talking about, you know, if you guys saw that clip, how she's talking. So curious to see what James's perspective is as a divorce lawyer.
saying, like, oh, he's a simp and he's that. And then, you know, everyone on the other end of it is saying, you know, like, hey, he doesn't have a right to suppress her speech, and, you know, she has the right to say whatever she wants to say.
Red pill community, if you don't understand, is kind of I don't want to bake them as misogynistic because I think that's too easy of a description to you know, label them as. Like, most people would say incels are, you know, part of the red pill community, or misogynistic. I think that's somewhat accurate, somewhat inaccurate. So the red pill community is very more about, like, I guess the male empowerment community, but in probably a way more aggressive way than I would like this community to form. So yeah, you guys have to, and then within red pill, there's also black pill and blue pill, and sigma males, beta males, obviously alpha males. So there is a whole bunch of different kind of like nomenclature and verbiage to think about, but yeah, essentially they are always going to be hating on simps, right? So their one thing is like, this is no longer a man's world. You have to kind of take back that world for yourself. So, you know, focus on yourself, focus on your body, get ripped, like make a ton of money. Like that's what you need to do, right? Like as a man, like that's their perspective on things. So obviously they're dogging on Akash because they're saying that he's just a simp for even like letting his wife speak about their relationship like this in public. So let's hear it. I'm gonna get some tea.
I have yet to see anyone actually cover this in any kind of mature way yet. Look, I think as someone who's met Akash, I enjoyed, I've been on Flagrant before, I've been on Mark's show before. I have such respect for all those guys. I enjoy their content. I enjoy their conversations. I think they're all smart, funny people with a point of view. And Akash has been a very brave, I think, guy in terms of taking positions. Like, he's not afraid to, like, just say what he thinks about things, and I really respect him for that. First of all, look, this is a marriage between two people. It's in the modern zeitgeist. She is someone who is trying to find her own voice and her own platform and her own point of view that she can express to an audience, and she's trying to find her own audience. And right now, and for many years, talking crap about your spouse for a heterosexual woman, you can't go wrong. Women love it. They eat it up. They look at it and they go, hey, stars, they're just like us. Look at this. This guy's a popular guy. He's a comedian, but look, he's a clown to his wife. His wife, like, no man's a hero to his butler. Like, she just looks at him and she's like, oh, he's just that goofball. Do I think that that's a healthy dynamic long-term for a relationship? No, I think it's really, really bad. And I really hope that this becomes like a teachable moment for both of them about how to be a little more like fragile with each other's feelings and treat their marriage like what it is, which is love is loaned. It's not permanently gifted. Because, constructive criticism, like if what she is saying, I think the most charitable view of this is the negative things she says about him and the things she talks about her, like what's mine is ours, or what's ours is mine, and what's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine, like that kind of vibe.
Any man that doesn't want to have a joint bank account or isn't being transparent with his accounts or has separate accounts, that's a red flag. This is not a two-way street. This is a one-way street. His money is our money, and my money is my money.
Even if that's not...
So you just heard that clip. Yeah. Obviously, that clip has gone viral because I think she was on a popular podcast talking about it, and obviously she's a public figure and her husband's a public figure. People didn't really know her before this, so they are talking a whole bunch of smack. Some of them might be true, some of it might not be. Like, Akasha's wife is just using him for clout, building up her own brand, and then she's just gonna leave, right? And she was obviously talking about her days, her sexual escapades, maybe in college. Yeah, I am going from guy to guy. And you probably heard it here. Akasha's first relationship was essentially with his wife. So whether you think that's right or wrong on both sides is, I don't know, kind of up for debate. The one thing that I would say is I do think that once you make these comments public, which she obviously did by going into multiple different podcasts and multiple different interviews that were online to be published, then you open yourself up to public scrutiny and criticism. It just comes with it. So if you're trying to farm views, which I don't necessarily know if she was, maybe she was just trying to express herself, but you could obviously express yourself in different ways. Like you can go to a therapist where they're literally binded by, patient, therapist confidentiality, not to disclose this information, to not talk about these things publicly, right? If you needed to get something off of your chest. or to talk to her husband directly about things that were totally bothering her about their relationship. But once you go on a podcast and you start to say these things and act kind of crazy, then you can't expect people, the cat's out of the bag at that point. You can't expect people not to react and say certain things to that. So I wish they kept it in-house if it was a problem that was that big. And I think that would probably be better for their relationship. I have no idea what it's like now, and whether or not she feels this way or if she felt like she actually did anything wrong. Not entirely sure. And this isn't really a guy-girl thing. It's more so just like the sanctity of your marriage. Like, if I was married, I had a problem with my wife, I would be pissed at me if I was going on to podcasts talking about our personal relationship with everyone else and all the problems that we might have or whatever, right? Like, how's that fair? She's not even there to defend herself or give her side of the opinion. I'm just offering mine, but offering it in a very, very public forum, like a stream, for example, right? Or like a podcast interview. So, yeah, I think those things need to be kept in-house, or they should be at least, in order for two people to genuinely work it out. Yeah.
Meant as tongue-in-cheek, even if that's meant as just sort of like the girl boss funny thing, it has to be painful for him to hear from time to time, and it does hold his reputation up to a negative place, right? And none of us really wants to be.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I wanted to say as well, that I think guys go through that I don't know if women totally understand. So it's actually really common, or way more common now, for girls to have this rhetoric like, his money is my money is my money. And when you say things like that, it's really, really disrespectful and really demeaning to whoever your partner is, presumably the guy, right? Because it's very, very reductionist on how you're talking about them. You're essentially reducing them to a paycheck. And you're in a relationship with them. It should be obviously a lot more than that, right?
Be like tearing our spouse down, harming their reputation. We really should be in a position where we want to build that person up and elevate them. I feel for Akash because I think there's no doubt that he loves this woman, and there's no doubt that he's committed to her. He has been very public about his affection for her. He's been very public about the fact they didn't have a prenup. He's been very public about the fact that he credits her for a lot of his success, all of which I think are
That's the other thing. People are dogging on him, especially the red pill community, about not having a prenup. And I've spoken to my friends about a prenup before.
really worthwhile sentiments. Like, and anybody who looks at that and goes, "Oh, you're a simp because you say that," you know what? You're deranged if you're saying that. Because I think that acknowledging that someone has been part of your success, that this person makes you feel good about who you are and your point of view and makes you feel confident and move confidently in the world, I think these are all very positive traits. But look, it's got to be weathering on him. It's got to be difficult for him to take this level of criticism from people. I think some of the things that she said are probably out of order. But look, you know what? I also, and at the risk of sounding misogynist when I say this because it's not meant from a place of misogyny, I really do think that sometimes women vent in different ways than men. Like, women have been, a culture has been created, a climate has been created where women can get on a mic and talk about my husband's an idiot. And they're not going to get pilloried the way, if he got on and he said, my wife's an idiot, it would be considered like an act of domestic violence to some degree.
And there is what I wanted to talk about. It's a complete double standard. She can go out and say totally inflammatory shit like, his money's my money, my money's my money. But if he were to go out and say, I don't know, whatever, she better learn to cook or something, you know, obviously misogynistic like that, he would be lit on fucking fire.
Whereas if a woman talks crap about her spouse, it's really kind of considered cute and charming because a lot of women's emotions are like clouds. They sort of are there, they emote about it, and then they feel a little better. I have not heard this woman say things that are like irreparable harm to the relationship. She has not said, you know, look, she's talked about other guys being attractive. She's talked about, like, she's said some things that I think there's probably been some uncomfortable conversations at home. But look, the only two people that need to be happy in a relationship are the two people that are in it. and everybody else can shut the fuck up. Like, because if they're happy and they've got a dynamic that works for the two of them and they know what they mean to each other, that's all that really matters. But advice-wise, if anyone asks my opinion on this, just don't talk crap about your spouse. Don't belittle your spouse. Don't openly criticize your spouse on a public forum. Like, I just don't think it's a good look. I don't think, even if it gets a lot of likes and comments and engagement, it's just not worth it. Like, you want this person in your corner. You know, this is an intelligent, successful person who's on his way up. She is an intelligent woman who's on her way up. Like, there is no reason the two of them should not be supporting each other in a positive way and not, you know, going at each other in a negative way. Even when he says on the show, as he did on the episode that I was on of Flagrant, even when he says anything vaguely critical of her, it is always with so much throat clearing before about, hey, I love my wife, she's amazing, but sometimes women be shopping, or whatever it is. Like, and that is a different thing, and it hits different when you hear it.
You see exactly what he said, right? So I can't obviously verify this with clips because I don't watch Flagrant. I've seen like a couple episodes of Flagrant, but really not that many. But anytime that he has anything, so I'm speaking from a cautious perspective. Oh, hey, welcome to the channel. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining. So anytime Akash says anything about his wife, he always kind of prefaces that conversation and cautions everyone, like, I love my wife, I respect her, you know, I adore her, she's the world to me, but sometimes she shops too much or whatever, right? And you can see that, like, there's a totally different level of respect within that dynamic in the relationship, but it's totally opposite when it comes from her side. She has no problem, at least from the live interviews that we've seen, totally throwing him under the bus, right? Like, you know, if he doesn't have a bank, you know, a joint bank account, like an open joint bank account with me, that's a huge red flag. Like, his money's my money, my money's my money, right? Like, you can just tell by the tonality of how she delivered things on her respect level versus his respect level to her. Yeah.
Than the way that she's. So maybe some of this is also too that she's still kind of new to broadcasting. Like, one of the things about that show, they're all stand-up comics. Like, they're all stand-up comics, so they are really comfortable walking in the minefield of ideas in a way that, like, and looking like they're improvising when in fact they've really thought a lot of stuff through. She is newer to the performance art than they are. Right? Like, I'm not a stand-up comic, but I've been performing for 25 years at a courtroom in front of a hostile audience. So I've got a certain vibe with that, too, that I'm comfortable. Give the woman a break. She's, like, on the come-up. She's trying to resonate with an audience. She's trying to say things that the girls are going to go, yes, queen! And she's found some of those things.
That's a really good point that he makes. So saying inflammatory stuff to your spouse is, from a female to a male, is... I hate to say it, but universally accepted or widely accepted by the majority of the community. And it is seen as cute or flirting or whatever, you know, normalcy. But when it's in the reverse, it's like, you know, devastating, right? Like, if Akasha said that about his wife, like anything in regards to that, he'd be fucking crushed tomorrow, easily. And then the other thing is, she's on the come up right now, whether that's, you know, her marrying him for clout or her just, you know, this is who she is. She might not be used to the public spotlight and how to act. Like, Akasha's been live on comedy shows. Like, I think he's probably done stand-up comedy for like years and years. So he's been on the Flagrant podcast, which is a really popular podcast. So he's probably accustomed to this kind of spotlight and, you know, things to say, things not to say, what to put out into the world or the interwebs and how it might look. And for her, you know, she might be just freestyling it, and she could get to a problem where it's like, oops, I kind of probably shared too much, or I probably said a little bit too much. She might not even, you know, and she might not even regret it. I have no idea. I don't know what goes on in her head, because the algorithm obviously prioritized that and it went super viral. So perhaps it was premeditated. I don't know that for a fact. But I think one thing is super clear. keep this shit in house if you're a couple. Yeah, spreading this like wildfire all over the place, like your business with your spouse, is not a good idea, whether you're in the public eye or not.
Is she going to learn that maybe that's not the best approach to take if you want to have a lasting connected bond and you don't want to have your spouse have a hard time and have all of his friends giving him shit? I think she's probably already learned that. So let's see if there's any shift in tone. But I think everybody, and it's not just because he's like friend of the show and someone who I respect and like, I really think it's ultimately something everybody just needs to kind of calm down about, because it's really between the two of them. Let them have whatever it is they're going to have between the two of them and sort it out, and give people room to back out of these things. You know, if you make it too partisan, people get entrenched in their positions and they start defending things they don't really want to defend, and they start getting really, really, piled down into that position. I don't think that's good either. I think just let these people have a little room. There's a young couple at the end of the day.
That's one thing that I would 100% agree with him on. Within society, especially on the interwebs, I think that when one person makes a mistake, we automatically label him or her as whatever it is that we're thinking. Racist, misogynistic, misandrist, etc., abuser, whatever. And the truth is, like, human relationships and human beings themselves are much more layered than that, and there's way more context that goes into those things than just writing them off one time. So we as people, especially on the internet, don't give these things as much grace and I think room for forgiveness, if there is anything that needs to be forgiven, as we should. And maybe privacy as well, right? Like, I think that goes into that space. Just letting two people, like you said, they're a young couple, they're a young married couple. They're probably just still trying to figure out what their relationship looks like. I don't know how long they've been married. I don't follow them. But yeah, marriage is hard. People are going to go through things, like through years and years of being together, or even if it's just a new relationship. So, that's between them and closed doors. The one thing that I think I personally disagree with, which I think is important, is anytime you have a problem with your spouse, like, keep it in house. Don't bring it up at a fucking dinner party. Don't bring it up certainly on a podcast and expect not to get ridiculed for it. Like, bring it up in house. Sure, you want to keep it in a tight-knit circle and talk to your best friend because it's just bugging you to hell. You want their advice. Okay. Like, people brought up tons of relationship advice to me, right? About their marriages, about their, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, their situationships. But we generally have a pretty good understanding that it doesn't leave that space, right? Whatever they tell me in confidence, like a fucking priest. And I give them my advice, yeah, it doesn't leave that coffee shop or wherever I'm at. So I think that's important. Like, if you're going to tell someone that you trust. Don't tell them on a public forum. That is something that should be sacred between you and the person you're in a relationship with or a marriage with. And that obviously wasn't exercised in this particular case.
So opening this up into a general conversation,
yeah,
I think a big element in this one as well is his job and what he does matters, right? Because he went at Fresh and Fit and had his opinions, and now they want to come back at him, and it's almost like whether you might be a politician, you might be an entertainer, whatever your career is, does kind of play into your relationship.
100%. Look, and I have no, like Myron and Walter are friends. I represented Walter. People know that. It was pretty public when I represented him. So I these are all people that I don't think there's any bad actors in this situation. I think everyone is like looking at this from their point of view. And to a person with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So Akash loves his wife, so she can do no wrong because he loves her, right? Fresh and Fit have been very anti-misandrist things. They've been very pro-male. They're very much about like, hey, like women are just looking to get the bag and then dump you, so you got to figure out how to kind of get your vibe in with them, and that's it. Abba and Preach, the same thing. That's why those guys hate each other, because they're both kind of in the same space, and it's kind of a civil war. These are all people with a point of view, and they all are finding evidence to support their existing theories. Like confirmation bias is what's kicking in here, you know. And so, of course, like they're looking at him, and look, he committed pretty heavily to a position early on. His wife is now saying some things that make him held to disrespect, and they're going to pillory him for it. That's fair play. Like, I don't think that's not fair play because he committed to these prepositions. You know, I don't think, for example, that if someone is closeted and gay, they should be pulled out of the closet. But if they're a Republican senator who's like passing anti-gay legislation and they're blowing people at a rest stop, you know what? Drag their ass out of the closet because they've weaponized their false position. So I think it's the same kind of thing here. Like, people are calling out and saying, like, well, wait a minute, you said this, but now this is what's going on publicly. How do you resonate those two things with each other? How do you square those away with each other?
So this is also confirmation biased, obviously my own confirmation biased, but, you know, you took this to a public, well, I'm speaking on his, you know, for his wife, right? But when Jasleen took this to multiple public forums, including TikTok and her own TikTok account, right? So this wasn't just, hey, I was on a podcast, they misrepresented me, they cut the clips in an incorrect way, so it made me sound like this, that I was like disrespecting my husband. No, she like actually went out on her own TikTok account, posted like vlogs of herself responding to some of these things, defending her position, and basically doubling down on these things, right? When you open, but whether you agree with her or not, the point is, when you open yourself up on a public forum that is publicly viewed, that's hosted by TikTok or YouTube, the internet is fucking forever. Okay? And we know that the internet has opinions about everything. So you can't expect people to not take sides when they have a lot, you know, potentially to gain from it as well. You know, just on a personal level, they might take sides based on their own moral and ethical views. But for people like, for instance, Fresh and Fit, you know, Myron, and his podcast and stuff like that, this is the stuff that fuels his actual podcast. You can't expect him not to talk about it. It reinforces the things that he teaches. Whether you feel like that's morally good or bad is a different story. But that's, you know, that's part of being in a, I guess it's part of the game of being in a public forum.
And that's fair comment. Again, though, I just think the easy take on this is they need to get divorced. They need to get divorced. It is way easier to slam a door shut than to keep it open. It is way easier to just end relationships and go, hey, there's 8 billion people in the world, I'll find another one, than it is to try to go, hey, wait, where did we get this wrong? How can we course correct? How can we preserve? Like, there's nothing wrong in this relationship that can't be fixed by what's right in this relationship. You know, like, and that's what you really need to figure out here is, like, these are two people who clearly have a great affection for each other. They don't have kids yet. You know, but they're committed to each other. And before everybody starts, like, throwing this relationship on the fire and go, they have to get divorced, you know, that might be treating dandruff with decapitation. We don't need to necessarily do that. Maybe it's a good opportunity to just have the two of them use this as a learning experience. We can all learn from it about what not to say publicly about your partner and move forward.
That's one really good way to put it. Solving dandruff with decapitation, you know. I talked about it earlier, obviously, on this particular live stream, about how divorce has become almost normal-place for people in disagreements. Like, I can't speak for everyone else. I know so many divorced couples, some even younger than me, to be honest with you, and I'm only 41. So if they got, you know, married only a couple of years ago and they're already divorced, like, yeah, they got divorced, like, in their 30s, you know? Which is crazy. Like, I don't even know if they gave it enough time to marinate on it, like their marriage, I mean, in order to discover if they were right for each other or wrong for each other. So, and the system, you know, for the most part, has made it really easy for couples to divorce. So, I can only speak to here in Canada and China, but China, the system used to be that you would have to take like a month separation, basically, right? So cool. You want a divorce? Okay, it's my job to tell you guys to like go seek help and like, you know, think things through before you actually like go through with this. You know, go home, get some therapy, sleep on it, whatever, right? So give them a little bit of space and time to see if they can actually find a way forward together. And I think Canada is the same thing. You actually used to have to cite a reason for divorce, right? Like, hey, you know, this person abused me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But now I don't think that's the case at all. Certainly not in China, and I don't think here. I think you can get divorced in one day. You know, as long as there's no assets to be divvied up, that's when things get more complicated. But legally, you know, you can just cite irreconcilable differences, right? And then the other person signs, you go on your merry way. Or you can get an annulment. They even created a new mechanism, right? This is not new, but if you're married under 1 year, you can basically erase that the marriage even fucking happened on paper. It's like, oh, we made a mistake. You know, we had a shotgun wedding, so we're just going to get everything annulled like it never happened. They actually created a fucking mechanism to be able to do that. So what do you think people are going to do if you create mechanisms, like legal mechanisms, in order for people to fast track, you know, like a platinum pass basically to a divorce? They're going to pick divorce, right? Anytime that they, you know, any infraction that they have within their marriage, whether it's, oh, we fucking fought over who got the milk and who didn't get the milk, or did you take out the dog for a walk? You know, why did you like walk into the house with like muddy boots or something like that? And it's like, oh, all three of those things, divorce, divorce, divorce. Of course. So people shouldn't be surprised that like family units are not staying together. You know, you make that so accessible for people, like what do you think is going to happen? And that's a whole other live stream, I guess, but there's a lot to that stuff, you know. Marriage rates obviously in steep decline. It's it's actually kind of crazy. I read a stat today that China has taken off a 30-year policy. They're now taxing contraceptives. So they had that in place before, I guess because of the one-child policy and everything like that. They wanted people to protect themselves so that they wouldn't have more than one kid. But now they've seemingly anyways kind of reversed that. So they've put back the tax for that to basically dissuade people from using contraceptives. And then they have taken away tax on matchmaking services, right? So if you go to a matchmaker and you're like seeking out, you know, a partner or whatever, you have your stats or whatever, it's pretty popular in Southeast Asia, or at least I've seen it pretty popular in Southeast Asia, not only in China, but in places like, I think like Japan and Korea and Vietnam. It's not taxed. Yeah. So they're trying to encourage people pairing up. That's a whole different story. I don't think it'll work, but that's what's going on. Let's continue on with this.
Who knew the divorce lawyer was going to be the like, hey, stay together, folks. Golly gee whiz.
A lot of what this boils down to also is the public's interest in what goes on behind closed doors in people's lives, especially if they are prominent names, and no better example of that in today's zeitgeist than what goes on with Jeffrey Epstein. The list, the emails.
It's not just Epstein, it's that list.
The list is
it's
really
the like, wait, Stephen Hawking, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton. Like, Bill Clinton, everyone was like, all right, that guy's, you know, he's looking to have a good time. But, like, a lot of the people on that list, you're like, wait, who? Like, this is like the most boring white boy convention in the history of the world. There's a lot of khakis going on in this Epstein Express here, this Lolita Express. Yeah, I mean, look, I think as someone who represents a lot of public figures and gets to see their private lives as a result of it, I will tell you, they're human. And they're prone to all the insanity and depravity and addiction and chaos that anybody else is. And some of them that you think would be like I've represented some musicians, some rock stars that I was like convinced they were going to be like shooting heroin. Like, and they're like the most boring people in the world. They're like, well, I really want to keep the Peloton life. And you're like, what? Like, I thought Like, oh, you're so much cooler than this, you know? Like, it's never meet your heroes. I have to tell you, a couple of them I've met, and I've been like, oh, you're so lame. Like, it's kind of cool to know, because I don't feel so bad for going to bed at 8 p.m. now, but man, like, I really thought you were going to be, like, cool, you know? But a lot of times, like, yeah, the private lives of public figures, I mean, we're fascinated by it because we have a whole fiction in our head of what our life would be like if we had this person's power or celebrity. And sometimes it's true. I mean, sometimes power and celebrity is it's a Molotov cocktail, man. I mean, it really creates opportunities for people to just be wildly irresponsible. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. Most of the time, the rock stars that...
I'm just going to pause it there for a second and add a little bit of context, which I think is quite funny. So, a couple things that I've learned in my life. You never know what someone is going through. So, you can judge them all you want, but behind closed doors, you have absolutely no idea. And I'm not just speaking from personal experience, but other people that I've known throughout the years. Sometimes it'll just totally blindside you what they're actually going through. So, try not to judge, obviously. That's number one. And then number two, where was I going with this? Yeah, like, never meet your heroes. I mean, I don't know if I've ever met my heroes, but I would say, like, it's not surprising for people to be a complete 180 in terms of their personality on the facade that they show on a live forum or a public forum versus who they are in private. I used to have a sales rep. We volunteered him to go on a pretty popular podcast that was hosted on LinkedIn. And it was like, excuse me, it was a webinar. But I remember, like, I talked to my rep after the interview, and I was like, oh, how did it go, right? And he was like, oh yeah, it was, like, interesting. And he was showing me a video of how that guy actually interacts with guests on a podcast. And he was, like, the most animated guy that I've ever seen. And we're talking about a topic like SaaS, which is, like, software as a service. Like, we're not talking about, like, a sexy topic or anything like that, right? Like, he's trying to get, like, computer programmers jazzed about, like, fucking SaaS. But he was, like, really animated. He had, like, background music, like, everything. He was, like, jumping up and down and going crazy. Not crazy, but, pretty animated. He was like, hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and, like, stuff like that, like a radio voice. And and my rep told me, like, they met an hour or half an hour earlier, kind of just to prep and, meet each other, meet and greet kind of thing, and talk about, okay, like, what are we going to talk about today? When are you going to ask me this question? How would you like me to respond? I'm thinking, like, I'm going to respond like this. Do you want to tee up a question for that? Like, all these networks do these kind of things, these kind of, like, pre-production prep stuff. And my rep was telling me that this guy was the most mundane, monotonous guy he's ever met. He was, like, literally like, hey, how's it going? It's nice to meet you. My name is X. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, you work for this company. Okay, so yeah, this is how it's gonna go. Like, we're on the air in about 10 minutes, and I'm just gonna introduce you, and yeah, it'll be fun. Like, he literally spoke like this. And obviously when he went live, it was like, hey everybody, like, crazy. So you just never know.
That I represent, they are sleeping with that many groupies. Like, they are engaged in that much alcoholism and drugs. Like, they do need one pill to get up for the show, and then one pill to get to sleep after the show, and then lots of booze poured over the whole thing. Which is, by the way, why so many of them eventually 10, 20 years into their career are, like, doing yoga and eating vegan and all are sober, because you can't sustain that lifestyle over a long trajectory, So you all end up like, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, who are, like, doing yoga on the tour bus and nobody smokes anymore. But look, the private lives of public figures are fascinating to us. Does not matter how crazy someone looks, they might be really normal, and it doesn't matter how normal someone looks, they might be really crazy. And I have to tell you, when you get to read people's text messages, you are shocked at like, wow, how lame other people's infidelity reads. Like I really shouldn't say this is what I'm going to say. We sometimes have dramatic readings at lunchtime in the conference room. Where, we'll read the texts. Yeah, like you be the boyfriend, and I'll be the secret girlfriend, and you be and we'll sit there and be like, baby, when you were inside me last night, it couldn't have been better, you know? What, I didn't know why you were crying, you know? And then we'll start laughing about, like, I don't know, because I was like, why am I sleeping with this loser? Or how you're hitting my cervix? I don't know, it could be anything, you know? But ultimately, yeah, like the stuff that you do in the shadows, it's not as cool when third parties are looking at it from like a helicopter view in a conference room. So, you know, it feels really good in the moment of it, but like reading people's emails, like I had a case, I can say this, it won't identify anybody. I had a case where I was representing a woman and she found not only that her husband was going to prostitutes like regularly, like 2-3 a week, but there was apparently a review site that you could like review your experiences with prostitutes.
Yelp for hookers?
Yeah, basically. It was like that. It was a review
Yelp
site.
for hookers.
And this guy was like the Cormac McCarthy. Like he was like
number one
he
reviewer.
would write these long. I mean, I remember. I can't believe I remember this. This is years ago.
That's
One
hilarious.
of them was I felt like a Greek god as I plunged into her ass. And I just remember like. And by the way, this was the most schlubby. He was like a tax lawyer. Like he looked like a dude who would be a tax lawyer. Like he was like a fat, kind of balding. Like, and he was writing about these depraved things he was doing with these hookers. And imagine, like, not just finding out that your spouse.
Just goes to show you, you never know. Some of the most innocent people that you've probably ever met are complete freaks.
Is like getting their freak on with sex workers, but then that they've reviewed it and they've written these long sweeping reviews that are like very literary in nature, and she read every damn one of them, and needless to say, she was like amped up, and you know, I just remember I could never look at him the same because I like wanted to, like I read all of these because my client wanted me to read them all and see which had evidentiary value, and I just remember looking at this guy and thinking, really, you were plunging into people's butthole like a Greek god? Okay, I mean, good on you, I guess.
Putting butthole and plunge in your review is just not a good idea.
Butthole and plunge is just not a, like, that's not a, it's not a great combo, especially for a tax lawyer. I don't know. You know?
Here's a question for you. Would you rather have your internet history made public or your sexting with your girl or anybody made public?
Oh, boy. Definitely the sexting.
Really?
Partner.
Oh, what are you searching, dude?
Yeah. Well, okay. So personally, I'm like any human being. Like you get a wild hair up your ass, you're like, what about that?
Is that weird, by the way?
Yeah, but it's human. You're like, yeah, it's human. Like you're just, where did my brain go there? Yeah. Actually, most of the time it would just be so lame. It would be like, how old is Bradley Cooper? Because I'm trying to like compare like which of us is doing better aging wise. You know, how old was Robert De Niro in this movie? Because I'm looking at him and I feel like I don't look that old, but maybe I was that old. I don't know. Like it's all dumb shit like that. Or like, what was the name of that album? You know, like it's all that kind of thing, which feels lame. Whereas like you're sexting. I mean, if it's with a partner, like, it's kind of like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's fun. People are having fun. Like, enjoy yourself. You know, and I'd like to consider myself somewhat literary. I'd like to think I probably have some good game on my sex.
But you know what? The thing is, you could have a great game in the light of day read by a third party.
Yeah, it's fun.
Terrible. It all sounds terrible.
But I'd say I'm one of those people that, like, I kind of acknowledge how lame we all are as humans, including myself. Like, I don't have any illusions about like me being like the exception and that it's exceptionally sexy. Like it's as dumb as anybody else's stuff. So I don't really think either of those I'd be too shocked about. I think I'm pretty open about my lameness, and I'm pretty open about my freakiness that any of us has, and you know I'm pretty like I don't think any of us is all that fascinating.
Okay, how about this? Your freakiness gets exposed, or your cuteness gets exposed when you're texting pet names and baby I miss you and sugar this and that.
So my freakiness, I feel like I'm pretty hard charging and I'm pretty aggressive. So like being like, did you know Jim is a dominant sexual partner? Like I don't think that'd be any breaking news for anybody. So that's probably wouldn't be that shocking. But yes, my like ridiculously silly, goofy, cute pet name side, like that would be. I think people would be like, really? But any woman I ever dated would be like, oh no, yeah, Jim has like a very like goofy, sentimental side. Like my kids know that. Like I think a lot of people know that I have a very sentimental side. And I think if you watch some of the interviews of me where I get choked up talking about my dogs and stuff. So I don't know, like we contain multitudes, and I'd like to think that we embrace all those aspects of self. I think they're all very, I don't see them as competing forces. I just see them as like a dance that's happening in my head all the time, and that's how it should be. I think in a relationship, like, I think the best relationships are ones where you can have like the perfect combination of like wild sex and cuteness. That's a great combination, Like I saw something the other day where somebody posted, it was one of those memes where somebody posts like their aspirational relationship exchange. And it was a guy texting his girlfriend, and he said, I respect you, right? And she said, yeah, why? And he said, because when I get there for about 10 minutes, it's going to seem like I don't. And I thought, that's a good text. Like, that is a good text. I don't know any woman who wouldn't enjoy getting that text. Like, and that's a great way of parsing. Like, listen, I love you, and I think you're sweet, and I'm going to treat you nice and sweet, but now I'm going to throw you the fuck around in bed. Like, and that's, I think a lot of women would be like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, that's exactly what I want. I want someone who's going to be, men want a good girl who's only bad for them, and women want a bad boy who's only good for them. Like, and that's what, I think the sex is, the heterosexual dynamic has always been, and God bless, man, that's the eternal game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that any of us would want all of our private stuff on display, but it's kind of like, how much sillier would you look than anybody else? Like, if you're standing there naked, how much better or worse do you look than anybody else? We all look kind of goofy.
I also think there's something wrong and something weird if you don't have the cuteness. Like if your frontward presenting person is the same as the behind closed doors person, I think you're hiding everything.
Yeah, and I think it's a facade then. Like I worry about people who have too much continuity to their personality.
Yes.
Like if you're like, I'm a lawyer and I drive a BMW and I play golf and it's like, okay, so you're just like, did you just like check off all those boxes and then because it just doesn't feel authentic to me. I've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for close to 20 years now, and there's nothing funnier than like a guy who could just destroy everybody on the mats, and then you like see them with their daughter, and they're like having their nails painted, and they're like, what's that? What's that, princess? Okay, let's go, and you look at him and you're like, dude, that guy could like kill me with his thumb. And he's like a little goofball with his daughter, and he's like putting on a princess dress with her, and I don't know, that to me, there is nothing more charming than that. Like, there's nothing more charming than the fact that people can contain all those kind of aspects of self and choose to share them. I think we would all be much poorer for it if we couldn't have like silly made-up voices for our animals and silly nicknames for each other and like dumb songs that we sing to each other. Like, I think all of those weird things you and your partner do that like you go like, oh my God, I would never want anyone to see that. That's like the best stuff. Like, it's the best stuff, and we all do it. Don't be ashamed. We all have that stuff, and if you don't have that stuff, you're missing out. Like, don't be self-conscious around your partner. The more that you can sort of enjoy that, like, yeah, let's just be fools in front of each other and behind closed doors and enjoy it, like, the better your life's going to be.
Epstein constantly in the news cycle,
like endlessly.
And never stops. And the same thing with the AI debate. Every week, it's kind of the same talk, but with new wrinkles.
Yeah. I think it's going to be for a while, though. I think that every couple of months now, some new use case comes out for AI. Whether it's a soul version of a 50 Cent song, or whether it's cat films, or whatever, like or Sora and all of the trailers now that they're making, the fake Pixar trailers. Like, there is so much stuff coming down the pipe, and it's getting better, it's getting smarter. And of course, we as a culture tend to like either become far too optimistic or irrationally pessimistic instead of looking at things in a realistic way, seeing them as the sort of yin-yang that they are. But yeah, I mean, everyone now is talking endlessly about either the doomer case of this and how it's going to destroy the movie industry, destroy the workforce, and kill the economy, and everything's going to fall apart, or we're going to have a techno-utopia where everyone's just going to have unlimited income and no one's going to have to work. And I think reality shows us that it's going to be some combination of the two things. But The part we're having a hard time with is the endings. And as a divorce lawyer, I'm always interested in endings. You know, I find endings fascinating. It's why I was a hospice volunteer. It's why I'm a divorce lawyer. AI is innovation. And innovation kills what came before it very often. And so there is going to be a whole segment. Look at my own firm. ChatGPT does the work of about 4 paralegals, and at 1/1000th of the expense. You know, we pay a flat rate per month to have like business level access to it, and it does the work of 4 or 5 paralegals better and faster.
I was just gonna say that. I mean, AI is hitting a ton of businesses very, very hard. The one things that it can do, because the compute right now is very, very like it can do a lot of like mathematics, so things that aren't like, there's not room for interpretation or tonality or gauging like human reactions, right? So customer service, a lot of people are trying to implement AI callers and stuff like that. Even my own company has an AI caller, an AI chat responder. It's good for some things, it's not good for others, right? There's no perfect AI caller out there, at least as of right now. But things that are very black and white, like numbers, like citing, you know, certain laws or certain cases or stuff like that, it can do very, very easily. So the 2 areas where I thought AI would really wipe out a lot of talent very quickly, paralegals, data entry people, junior engineers, and honestly, accounting. So people that are doing just, you know, like people that are working at H&R Block, really. They, what is H&R Block? I mean, they give you some advice, but GPT probably could give you the same advice, but better, because they could cite the exact laws that are, you know, if the government of Canada decided to change a law for this year for taxation, for example, they could tell you exactly what the law is. If you didn't understand it, they could probably dumb down the language so that you would understand it. If you were like, oh, give me an analogy as to, like, you know, for me to make sense of this law, for example, you could ask it for advice after that, after they interpreted that law. So, hey, learn that law and then tell me, based on the numbers that I've entered, what advice should you give me? And all that stuff is public information. So they'd be able to tell you, okay, you have to enter this number in line 1, this number in line 10, this number in line 10041. So yeah, I do think that those industries would change wildly. Where I think some things will still live is, for instance, this guy's job, where he's actually in a courtroom defending or some kind of court proceedings defending his defendants or arguing on their behalf in terms of divorce, right? Like, there still needs to be a human being presence to be able to do that, and then talk to, you know, the person that he's actually representing, whether it's the man or the woman in this divorce case, right? So there's like a human element there, right? So customer service, I don't think has been solved by this yet. There's some low-level customer service that I think will not exist. So, like, if you were calling an airline to rebook your ticket, like, that could be automated pretty easily, right? You would just have a chat bot that would ask you, well, what do you need? You need to reschedule a flight? Okay, no problem. Can you give me your current flight number, right? Oh, my current flight number is this, or my current reservation number is this. Oh, can I ask you some questions to confirm your identity? Yes, you can. So what are the last 4 digits in your passport? What is your birth of date? You know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They confirm that it's you. Okay, what is the future? You know, what do you want to change your flight to? Oh, I want to go from LAX to Tokyo on this particular time and date. I see that you have this flight. It repeats exactly what is in the information, right? On Cathay Pacific or Air Canada or whatever. Are you referring to this flight that's leaving at this time from this airport? Yes, I am. Cool. Do you accept these changes? Give you a disclaimer. That's it. It can recall all that information very, very easily, actually. So that's a job that I think can be taken very easily, or probably has already been taken. Anyways, that's a little bit of a rant about AI, but I just wanted to put that out there.
And that is because it is, large language models are very good at when you feed them a giant data set and say, find me all the examples of XYZ. It's not good at analyzing data.
There we go. So exactly hit the nail on the head, right? You feed it a lot of data sets, you feed it a lot of case studies, you feed it a bunch of numbers and tax forms and whatever, and public information that's on the web for, Revenue Canada or whatever they're releasing. They'll be able to tell you exactly what's going on. Now, interpreting that data and giving a client the best tax advice based on probably some human circumstances, right? Like, hey, I'm going through a rough divorce, or I'm planning a rough divorce. Like, how do I shelter some of these things, right? Or I don't know, whatever, right? Or how do I better position these things? Or, hey, I'm ill and I want to leave something to my kids. Like, how do I do that? Like, those kind of things, I don't think AI would be equipped to do, at least up right now. But simple bookkeeping things, yeah, those jobs are probably gone.
It's not good at, find a good argument to be made about this, or research this legal issue for me. It's not good at that yet. But what it is good at is, here's 8 days of trial transcripts. Give me the line and page and date of testimony of each witness who talked about this particular issue, and it spits that back out in 30 seconds, where it used to take 3 paralegals 2 days to do that kind of thing for a post-trial memo, or for a brief, or for a motion that's being submitted. So I think we have to realize that the world is going to continue to change very, very rapidly.
Do you think it's an example where if you are alive and an adult and entrenched in the world as it is now, those are the people I think who are most offended by this? Like, it's ruining art, it's ruining culture, and then maybe one generation removed from that is not going to have that connection to the past and might just accept it more readily.
I think rigidity is becoming very de rigueur. Like, I think that the idea of, like, no, this is how we did it and we shouldn't do it different than that. Like, the term conservative came from conservation, right? Like a conservative was a person who said, hey, there are things in our society like religion and the family structure, and those should be conserved. They have value, right? And liberalism was the idea of, okay, we're going to progress from that. We're going to move from that. We're going to get rid of outdated models that don't suit us anymore, or that have negative second-order effects. So we lost that plot, in the political discourse. But there are people that have a very conservative approach, meaning they're looking at AI and going, wait, why do we have to have new ways of doing these things? Like, music was made by musicians, and that was good. Books were written by writers, and that was good. And I think there's value to be said in that. But to suggest that, therefore, let's just stop building technologies because we're going to, like, it's a very Luddite or neo-Luddite stance, and it's not realistic. Like, the genie's out of the bottle, things are going to change now. So I think we have to accept the fact that does not mean everything is going to change. It doesn't mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. But to suggest, like, it already, looking at Sora and some of these large language models, the video that can be made, the films that can be made, if you think that Hollywood is going to continue to do a $200 million CGI budget for something that can be done pretty close to that level of quality by a large language model for almost no money, you're delusional. Especially with the number of people that are not going to the movies now. So the return is just not coming on that investment. So look, there's going to be some big changes. The happiest people are going to be people that learn to sort of let those changes wash over you, to not rigidly hold on to things. There's a chapter in my book where I use a concept in jiu-jitsu that one of my instructors, Paul Schreiner, taught me. He said you should have tight grips and loose arms. Like, if you have tight grips on someone, you've connected yourself to their body, and they're controlling your arms with their body. Whereas if you have tight grips but loose arms, they can still move, but you have control over them. I think we have to have tight grips and loose arms. I think we have to, like, hold on to the pieces that are most important to us, but be flexible in the ways we're approaching these things, and be flexible in our adaptation of technology into these models. Don't be afraid of losing all of your value. See this as a potential enhancement to your value, or shifting in the way you can use your job. Technology has always been an improved means to an unimproved end. Technology has always offered us real solutions to imaginary problems and imaginary solutions to real problems. And technology, when you apply it to an efficient system, has always magnified the efficiency, and when you apply it to an inefficient system, has always magnified the inefficiency. So those are basic rules of technology that we all need to just accept as fact and move with it.
You just dropped quite a few gems there. Boom! But I will say, one, if you can wrap up with the sexism here, you just kind of mentioned it earlier. The love is loaned.
Yeah,
I think
that's actually sexism. Yeah.
Go a little in depth with that one, because I think that's a
We'll
really
make
good
that
one.
today's sexism. Today's sexism is love is not permanently gifted, it's loaned. You know, the more that you realize every relationship ends. It ends in death, divorce, breakup, but it ends. And that's why it's kind of odd. It's one of those few things in life you go, I really hope this ends in death. But the truth is, like, the relationships end. Love is not permanently gifted, it's loaned to you. And the more that you realize that, and the more you keep that in your line of sight, the better. You know, I have a friend who I talk about pretty often, Chris. He's married to another friend of mine, Amy.
I want to add to that for a second. So he did say, like, you know, life is not, or love is, sorry, I'm just going to pull up his exact comment because I think it'll just be, love is not permanently gifted, it's loaned. So he makes a really good point by saying that this is finite, right? Whether it's through a breakup or separation or divorce or death, these things end in time. And it's loaned to you. Now, I think to take it one step further, we all need to realize that this is not something as something that's loaned to you, so not bought but borrowed. You need to cherish it because it's not yours, right? It's that person's feelings towards you and your feelings towards them. So if love is not nurtured and cherished and respected and honored, it can go away. Just like anything else, right? Like if it's not upkept, you can't expect someone to just love you unconditionally just because you exist and they think the world of you. And I think that's something that I wanted to add. I think it's important. There's a lot of responsibility there.
That it's long. The more that you realize every relationship ends. It ends in death, divorce, breakup, but it ends. And that's why it's kind of odd. It's one of those few things in life you go, I really hope this ends in death. But the truth is, like, the relationships end. Love is not permanently gifted, it's loaned to you. And the more that you realize that, and the more you keep that in your line of sight, the better. I have a friend who I talk about pretty often, Chris. He's married to another friend of mine, Amy. They've been married almost 30 years now, 2 kids, survived all kinds of economic instability, cancer, all kinds of things. They have been through the fire, and they love each other in a way that still, it's like shocking to watch. Like they're so fond of each other. And he still refers to her as like his girlfriend. Like he's like, oh, my girl's, I'm going to take my girl away, And she talks about him like, oh, my boyfriend's coming home from his business trip. And it's like they've been married for 3 decades, and they talk about each other that way. And I talked to him once about like how do you have that level of connection to her, and how does she's still so crazy about you? And he has a sales background, and he said, I'm always trying to close the deal with her. He's like, you meet a woman, and you want to get her number, and you like start to like want to close the deal, like you're trying to sell her on you. He's like, and then you get her, and you just start to go like, meh, all right, I have that now. He's like, and I just act like, you know what, like always be closing. Like just always be like, nope, I'm still trying to impress her, I'm still trying to, And by the way, she in turn is still trying, like she's still his girlfriend. Like she's still like, he's the smartest, coolest, sexiest guy in the world, she's crazy about it. And it works. Like it works because of that. They're not tearing each other down, they're just building each other up. So
I can certainly relate to that for people that know me because I'm a sales guy. So we're always judged by closing deals. And I think if you looked at it that way, you'd always try to impress your other half no matter what. It's interesting he mentioned that they were dating. They weren't married because that could really change the dynamic of things if they were married. Maybe not. Maybe so. I've certainly seen it in other couples that I've spoken to. So that part is quite interesting. And it works for them, which is a really cool mention. He did say something back here, though. One second.
Shut it down and just build each other up.
Yeah, not tearing each other down, building each other up. So I think this is a much larger topic that really needs to be expressed between two people. Oftentimes I see couples that they are subconsciously like resenting the other person, or consciously, or they have something going on within, I don't know, their relationship that's bad. And it manifests itself into tearing the other person down, right? However that might look. So it might be at a dinner party, making kind of snide remarks and comments and giving that person attitude, or it could be at like a family gathering or like a public event, or as we witnessed with today's episode, an actual podcast that you're being interviewed on. The point is, like, it's okay to have those feelings that you're just not okay in the relationship, but I do believe that those things should be kept in a very tight circle and usually behind closed doors. If you're going to go out publicly and slander your other half, there's something seriously wrong there. And from my experience, not always, usually the person that's slandering the other person, it's not always about problems that they have in the relationship, but problems that that particular person has internally in their mind. So I won't name this particular person, but they were their wife at the time. They're divorced now, but their wife at the time was a very good cook. And she would, when they first got married, she would often make like the best dishes, and he was conditioned to just expect that everything was going to be like that. Every time they had dinner parties, and they would invite like coworkers over or whatever, he would just kind of like make fun of her kind of publicly at the table, like, oh, how come you didn't make this particular dish, or whatever, you know? And hey, it didn't taste that great. It was like, okay. And it was like pretty belittling, considering like this person just slaved away in the kitchen for 3 hours, like trying to make you like something nice and do something nice for you. Like, why not, you know, even if you didn't like it that much that day, like, why not try to put a positive spin on it? Like, even if you were being a little bit critical, like, hey, everything tastes great. It's a little bit on the dry side, but you know, next time, you know, like it'll be much better, or I'll help you cook it next time or whatever, right? But that showed me a lot more about that particular person and their insecurities, because I found out some information really later that highlighted that. He was making less money than her. He was not ambitious, even though he had the credentials to be a little bit more ambitious with his career. And that really, I think that probably rubbed him the wrong way, because he was a very kind of old school kind of guy. And yeah, so it's, you know, tearing each other down versus lifting each other up, I think is a really, really big thing in relationships, even if you're not feeling it 100%, but it's kind of your duty in a relationship to try to support your partner. Not unconditionally, not with blind faith, okay? Like, you shouldn't support your partner if they're abusing you, right? And think like, oh, that's okay, they're just having a bad day, right? We see that happen all the time, like Stockholm syndrome. But so not that, but you know, I think there's definitely needs to be some kind of happy medium there. Yeah.
So I think they both have realized that love is not gifted to you permanently, that it's loaned. And I think the more that you realize that something is transient and that it will end, it's what makes it special. You know, the sunset is beautiful because it's transient. You know, nothing gold can stay. And so there is something really beautiful about when you acknowledge that and realize the transient nature of it. You know, if you, wherever you've gone on vacation that you enjoyed, if you went, I'm going to move here and live here now, it would just turn into the place where you live. You know, no matter how great of a car you see out there, eventually it's just your car. You know, and even the most beautiful woman in the world, someone somewhere is fucking tired of that. You know, and the truth is, like, that is because it is not permanently gifted, it's not. That's going to do it for today's show, folks. Thanks for joining us once again. Remember to hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It really does help the channel, which is growing every single day thanks to you, and we appreciate every single one of you. Go to sextonshow.com. Give us your questions, your comments, your feedback, what you want more of, what you want less of. You can tell me you like or dislike my haircut. I won't read it, but they will, and they'll tell me what they think. And it's great to see you. Join us again, but for now...
That was a good show. I mean, he highlighted a lot of things that I think were pretty cool, that needed to be said, that were quite interesting. He had another episode.
Sexton, I'm your host, James Sexton. Thank you for joining us once again. We got a full docket today, but before we begin, remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really does help the channel grow, and we are growing every single day. Today,
This is him when he had hair. Or maybe when he was a little bit younger. This is A&A. Let's take a look at this.
First class this week in March, and unfortunately business class last month. I'm just kidding. Let's compare the two. A&A's first class is approximately $15,000 one-way.
Jesus.
It starts at the airport with security check in a private room where I was the only one with
It's the cost of a car.
lined up the regular way at the check-in counter on the expedited line and secure.
Literally a cost of a car. I think that you can get a BYD, like, pretty decent car in China for like 10K. And under. Yeah. That's wild.
There's a total of 8 seats in first class versus 64 seats in business class, so the service is definitely more personalized in first class with one flight attendant.
I've also heard that airlines depend on first class and business class to make up like 80 or 90% of their revenue. So all economy seats are just kind of there to like just offset some operational costs. All of their profits really come from, or the majority, strong majority of their profits come from business class and oh shit, I almost died. Sorry, where was I? Business class and oh, okay, heal. I think I won. Yeah, he doesn't have anything left, I think. And first class. Let's watch the rest of this.
And it's serving only 2 to 3 people. In first class, your flight attendant sets up your bag, walks you to the restroom to change, and checks up on you frequently, which you won't experience in business class. My favorite part is the food, and I did notice a huge difference in the offering. You were able to order from the light snack menu on both as many times as you want. I personally don't care for the amenity kit, but first class did provide a few extra gifts like foot masks and pajamas to wear on the flight. This is the updated first class and older business class, so that accounts for some differences. But overall, I think business class is about our cash value at $8,000 versus $15,000.
That's a huge difference, especially when you're talking about one way. You're not talking about two ways. Business class, you can literally fly round trip for like 16 grand, right? And then I've flown business class once, I think, and then premium economy once, and obviously economy most of the time. I don't think I've ever flown first class.
Unless you're using points like I did. I flew in.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's really, really big. You should never, unless you're loaded with money, I would recommend that you never buy these tickets full price, or you might want to wait for some kind of last minute offer. Some airlines do this, like 2 days out before the flight, or even 24 hours before the flight. They might offer you some kind of promotional pricing because they just can't fill like the first class seat or business class seat. And you can see if it's going to be cheaper. Like I've been offered something for like, I think it was like $500 from here to the Philippines because I was transferring from there to Hong Kong. So that's like a pretty long flight. Like we're talking whatever, 9.5 hours or something like that. It's the majority of the time spent on the plane to get to Asia. But I didn't take it. It was like, I think it was business class, and I just flew economy or something like that, but there was no one sitting beside me, so it was fine. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And then points, depending if you know how to play the points game, sometimes you can really manipulate it so that you can get a business class or first class ticket that no one wants for significantly reduced price comparatively to how much these tickets are, right? So I've been on a Air Canada one way for business class, and then the second part was premium economy back home via, I think it was like Seoul Airlines or something like that, or maybe it was like Air Canada. But that was, I want to say like 89,000 points. No. It was way less than that. I remember I had a pretty long layover in Korea, so that was like the kicker. It was like I can't remember, 5-hour layover in Korea, or 5.5 hour. But you got lounge access. I got lounge access in Shenzhen. I flew to Korea. I paid for lounge access there so that I could kind of sleep. And the first class, the business class flight was Shenzhen Airlines from Hong Kong to Korea was fine. The people were nice. The food was okay. Like, the chairs weren't amazing like these chairs, but you got to lean back, and I had a nice nap, which was great. And they pick you up in a separate shuttle bus, like ahead of everyone else, so you get to the plane first. And then the premium economy was actually pretty good on Air Canada. I don't really have a reference point of anything else, but I really enjoyed it. It was just one other person that was like pretty roomy. The food was, I would say, it was pretty decent. And then the screen was pretty big. So yeah, you don't have to break your back to get to some other classes of flights as long as you're playing the credit card game. You can get there pretty reasonably. Yeah. Let's see here.
This is the best $350 I've ever spent. I'm flying to Tokyo from New York and was offered a premium economy upgrade at the gate. This is Japan Airlines' newest aircraft, so you didn't have to ask them twice. Look at what comes with this seat. You get privacy blinders, a personal reading light. Not even kidding, these seats are out here giving.
Check that out. That's a premium economy seat. And some airlines, that might even equate to a business class flight, by the way. Like, look how much, I mean, this person I'm assuming is pretty small, but look how much leg room there is, like, from her to the next seat. Like, my knees wouldn't be bumping here. And then how much, like, this chair encompasses quite a bit of space, right? Like, I'm assuming it reclines.
Not even kidding, these seats are out here giving business class. You can even connect your headphones to your giant TV with your Bluetooth. Since it's a red-eye, the first.
That's cool too. I've noticed that in Cathay Pacific, they have Bluetooth technology now, which is hilarious because Bluetooth has been around for so long. But if you have your own earbuds or earphones, you can just connect them to them, and you can enjoy listening on obviously way better quality ones than the default ones they give you.
It was more of a snack. This didn't matter to me because I actually came for cup noodles. So to be transparent, the food you get here is the same as economy. The extra cost you pay goes into your seat experience, and this is also the first day I found an economy. The menu was served 3 hours before we land, and wow, it's a lot of food, and there's.
That is a lot of food, and JAL as well as ADA are very famous for their economy and premium economy experience. I think they're voted as one of the best in the world in terms of just overall leg room, food quality. I don't know if, I think ANA serves Haagen-Dazs ice cream for your quote-unquote dessert, so I don't know if JAL does the same.
Even smoked salmon. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I have nothing to complain about this, especially since I ended with Rex. These seats also fully come up. It was the first time I slept this
That's nice.
well on a long haul flight. Save this for your trip to Japan. This is the best food.
So okay, it goes up to here, which I'm not sure if it would be comfortable for me, to be honest with you, because I'm pretty tall. So my legs might just kick up against the screen here. So I might want to put this halfway and then just tuck my legs under there. But to each his own, obviously it's going to be different. But I think what's nice is like, oh yeah, so she's like propped up her feet like this and she's snuggled up like this, which I don't know. I suppose is a way to sleep, but your knees might get tired after a while. However, she only paid $350 for this. This is the best $350 I've ever spent. This is on top of her economy ticket, I'm going to assume, right? But it is a last minute upgrade, which premium economy that looks like business. Yep, 100%. I think that's the first place I went to. Seriously, close enough in my opinion. Yeah, it is. Yeah. These don't go flat, business goes flat. Yeah, so that's the one thing they don't. JAL as well as ANA are famous for their the room. So that's their I think ANA A535s or something like that, or 737s have like the room where it's like that partition and you have your own room that's kind of like secluded, and it's a lie flat seat. So you don't get that in a premium economy. That showed the full leg rest extension to top. Have no idea why people reviewing these flights don't show this. Being able to put my legs up is almost worth more than the full black recline. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I've never tried that myself to see if it's comfortable. You can always get great upgrades, prices a day or a few hours before the flight. Once got business class on Qatar Airways for $550. Yep, that's true. Yeah, so always ask the airlines when they're issuing tickets, like when you're checking your bags. You can probably just straight up ask them at the counter or call them a couple of hours ahead of time and just say like, look, I'm flying tomorrow, what do you have for me? Yeah, usually they'll just give you whatever they can't sell out. They might as well make money, some money than no money. I flew Swiss in premium economy and the seats just look like that, but this has more options, better than business class on some airlines. Sweet. I paid $400 upgrade to business ANA airline from Chicago to Narita. That's cheap. That's cheap, because that flight usually probably sells for like, I don't know, $7,000-8,000. So the fact that you only had to pay $400 to upgrade is like crazy. Yeah. And as I get older, you know, it's worth it. Like, it's honestly, it's worth every penny. I was wondering if you had lounge access. Thanks. No. They don't grant cash upgrades with lounge access. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. $350 is cheap. I'm assuming that's USD, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I think that's probably still worth it.
Today's guest has mastered the dark art of divorce.
In a divorce, if you're trying to protect the children, you're giving up a certain tactical advantage. Because if you don't care about the kids, you can weaponize the kids.
With over 25 years as one of the top divorce lawyers in the U.S., he's represented billionaires, athletes, and celebrities in the ugliest breakups imaginable.
Marrying is the most legally significant thing you will ever do other than dying. If you buy an apartment, or rent an apartment, or lease a car, you know how much paperwork you have to sign? Most people learn about what they did legally when they got married in my office.
His brutally honest takes on love, affairs, and the legal system have made him a polarizing figure online, with many asking the question, is marriage actually worth it?
There was a period of time when there was a lot of debate about gay marriage. Like, if you hate gay people, make them get married like the rest of us.
In this episode, we'll unveil the warning signs that guarantee divorce, expose the ruthless manipulation tactics used in custody battles, and explore why some people become absolute monsters the moment love dies.
The opposite of love isn't hate. Like, love and hate are passionate emotions. The opposite of love is indifference. Like, the worst thing you could say to your partner is like...
James Sexton. Welcome to the Jack Neal Podcast.
Thanks, Jack. It's good to be here.
Yeah, guys, we've been trying to plan this forever.
I know.
I'm so glad we're finally here together.
You learned very quickly the lesson that my ex-wife would definitely tell you, which is that trying to schedule anything with a divorce lawyer is just not possible, because the only constant is chaos. You know, we just... You you start the day saying, okay, this is what I'm doing today. I'm going to write this prenup. I have a couple of free hours in the afternoon, and then you get the phone call that it's like, nope, you're going to be downtown for a custody trial because there's an emergency hearing. So we have probably scheduled this 5 or 6 times, and every time I canceled on it, and you have been remarkably consistent and persistent, so I appreciate that. And that's why we ended up on a weekend, because I knew I couldn't get interrupted by court. But I really appreciate the fact that I didn't wear my lawyer costume, and you're dressed like a lawyer today, so this is really great role reversal.
I'll take on your role, I guess.
I appreciate that. That's great. I have some prenups you could write for me later if you want, and then I can really just get some rest. So,
James, you started your practice as a divorce lawyer in 2001. It's the year I was born.
Nice.
Since then, the divorce rate has decreased by almost 40%. Why are people divorcing less in 2025?
It's a good question. So, the divorce rate tends to fluctuate, and it tends to fluctuate based primarily on economic circumstances. People get divorced in a booming economy for a certain set of reasons. People get divorced in a poor economy for a different set of reasons. And so it is a recession-proof industry in that regard, which I guess from an earnings perspective I should be happy about. But, divorce is also tied to the marriage rate. It's tied to how often people get married, when they get married. So people are getting married later in life now than they used to. That statistic has changed dramatically. People used to get married average age 21, 22. Now people are getting married 29 to 32 is the average age. So when people choose to marry is definitely changing things. Marriage equality is now also the law of the land. The Supreme Court has basically said, okay, we're going to let gay and lesbian couples be as miserable as heterosexual couples and get married now. And let's see if they're any better at this technology that heterosexual couples are so incredibly bad at. And I don't mean to say that marriage isn't worth doing. I actually don't believe that marriage isn't worth doing. I think marriage is something that has tremendous value if and when it goes well. But marriage is something we should take very seriously, because marriage, from a legal standpoint, is definitely negligent and possibly reckless. So in the law, we make a distinction between negligence and recklessness. So negligence is a failure to perceive a substantial and unjustifiable risk of serious harm. And recklessness is a conscious disregard for a substantial and unjustifiable risk of harm. So negligence basically is, I didn't realize how dangerous this was. Recklessness is, I knew exactly how dangerous this was and I did it anyway. I would argue that with the divorce rate as high as it is and the marriage satisfaction rate as low as it is, because remember, divorce is just, here's the marriages that catastrophically failed. Like catastrophically failed to the point where these people say, yeah, that's it, I'm out. You can have half my stuff, I'll lose half my time with my kids, I'm out, I'm done, I cannot do this anymore. So you went from, I love you more than the other 8 billion other options on the planet, to, I don't care if I have to give away half my stuff, I just don't want to be with you anymore. Like, so that's pretty far in terms of the trajectory there of how far you can get. It's not like, oh, I used to like this food and now I don't like it so much. It's, I used to love this food, it was my favorite food, and now if I even look at it, I'm going to throw up. That's a giant leap, those two things. So I think that how we approach marriage is changing, and because of that, there's a change in the divorce rate. But the question is, what does that actually mean? Because again, divorce is just the ones that catastrophically failed. How many people are genuinely happily married? How many people don't divorce, but they remain in the marriage unhappily for the kids, or because they don't want to give away half their stuff, or for religious reasons? Another 10%, 20%, maybe 30%? What I ask most people is, how many people do you know that are very happily married? And the answer is usually abysmally low. The statistic that I still find staggering is that 86% of people remarry within 5 years of their divorce. So you're talking about someone that went through the process, it catastrophically failed, they got divorced, and within 5 years they ante up again.
That's crazy. 86% of people marry 5 years within their divorce. That's nuts. It's like you haven't learned your lesson the first time. That's an oversimplification, obviously, of the entire marriage system, but that's still crazy. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah.
Do you think there's a correlation there with relationships? Because a lot of people preach online, especially to young men, that you need to date a lot of women, or like have a lot of relationships, so like you know what you like, and that leads to like a happier marriage if that's what you're going for, just like a happier life in general. But
Be right
you're
back, 1
saying
second.
that, one divorce leads to more divorces, and like you get
Yeah.
worse at it.
Well, I don't know that we necessarily get better at something just because we do it over and over again, right? Like, you know, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you practice something and you practice it the wrong way, like I've trained and taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for many years. And if you teach a student the wrong way to do a technique and they just do a lot of reps of doing something the wrong way, they're learning. But they're just not learning correctly. Like, I mean, they're learning correctly, but they're not learning the correct technique because you're essentially, you know, there's a saying, I think Wittgenstein said that when you apply technology to an efficient system, you magnify the efficiency. And when you apply technology to an inefficient system, you magnify the inefficiency. So I think when we apply our relationship skills to a relationship and it fails, and then we just go and do the same thing over again, yeah, it's just going to keep failing, you know, and it might even fail more rapidly at that point. Whereas if you look at relationships like chapters in a long book and you say, okay, what did I learn from this experience? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about how I relate to someone else? What did I learn about the things I should have seen that this person was showing me and I didn't want to see in an honest way? And if you take that to your next relationship, then I think divorce can be a really transformative process for people. It can be a chance for people to evolve in the way that they understand themselves, their own needs, how to express those needs.
I am back.
So, you know, a lot of my career outside of the courtroom, my career doing...
Let's queue up some Dota. It's 10:49. We can probably play an hour before I go to sleep here or end the stream. So let's do this and we'll do this. Hopefully that works. Does that work? Yep. Cool. I'll play some Turbo. Nice. Queued up a game.
It's your turn to ban. 5 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Let's practice some Jakiro. Actually, I was gonna pick Pudge, but It's a new hero, by the way, Largo, if you've never played Dota. Our kill threat at level 1 is not very good unless Vino gets someone with a Gale.
Let's get moving. Okay, let's see if Easy Camp is blocked. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna pull hard camp. To reset the wave because it's too close to the tower. It's danger. He's getting the Lotus. Queue up some boots to go faster. He should stay in lane. Those creeps are worth way more. Okay, good. You got a whole bunch of creeps there. That's nice. Pudge is missing. He doesn't need me in lane right now, so I'm just gonna pull. Oh, Pudge is bot? Okay. I can go bully out this frog now. I'm gonna reset the wave, because it's probably gonna push. There we go. Yeah, let's bully out this guy. I killed them both pretty easily. Actually, I should have gotten... I made a mistake. I should have intentionally got hooked there. If I did, let me reset the wave. Here we go. There we go. If I intentionally got hooked there, I would have got the kill on Pudge. He's only level 2 because he's roaming and not doing too much. And I'm almost level 4 with one more creep. I would have destroyed him. Probably would have died because they would have gone 2-1, but not without significant losses, so.
kill.
Okay, kind of fucked that up. It's my bad. Let's go plant some wards.
The enemy's top tower just shooting little pieces.
Okay, good fight for us. We lost techies, but we turned that around, and I got a ton of gold from that, actually. So that's good. Gonna see if they have a obs. Actually, I need to get the wisdom. That was stupid.
Double kill.
2 for 3? I don't know. Yeah, I played that pretty badly too, to be honest. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. He spent everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good.
The enemy's middle tower has
We'll
fallen.
do the ice path. Sure. Oh. Urza top and Viz. Yeah. That's what I was worried about. Let's do this. Let's do this. I think I need a kiting item. So we're gonna go force. Medusa got shanked. Just put this instead. Okay, they're gonna give up this tower. It looks like Urza's top, Line's top, Pudge is mid. They don't have enough to defend this. I think they know it too. So I'm gonna go Force Staff, and then I might need to make an E-Blade this game, but I'm gonna plant a ward here, like a deeper ward, maybe somewhere here. See some rotations. Oh, and they gave up 2 bounties here, which is great for us. Yeah, I don't know why Dusa TP'd there. That was a really dumb TP. It's super obvious they were waiting for her there. They didn't show on the map at all. They were last top. Like, no one just fucking... The enemy team doesn't disappear all of a sudden out of nowhere for no reason. Yeah, that's... And what's worse is she wasted her TP to get there, so she just rezzed. I don't think you guys understand how bad that is, potentially. No. Just when I was saying that, I got fucked myself. Right when I saw the Void TPing in, I thought there might be an opportunity if he was solo for me and Marcy to kill, but that was very ambitious of me. Yeah, we would have got... I mean, we're diving a T2 tower to be able to kill. But I think the good thing about that exchange is we gave our Medusa maybe some space to farm top now, so she's got... We detracted, like we attracted a lot of attention. Oh, I didn't know sentries gave experience now. What the heck? It's crazy. That's weird. Actually, I had no idea. Okay, yeah, there's an obs there. I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'll put a... I don't even know where the good ward spots are anymore, to be honest with you. I'd probably have to put something in the river, which means I won't have high ground vision, but I think it'll probably be worth it. So let's put one here next to Roche, since there's... Okay, I think I gotta help. Yeah, I gotta help. They're getting fucked. Kill Largo. Come on. Okay, good. Okay, we got 3. Dual breath cooldown's probably the one to go with. I actually haven't even looked at these talents yet. Like, in depth. Medusa's probably gonna die, because he has blink. If he chases, I think I have to protect her. Yeah, fuck. That was dumb. Oh my god. fucked. I need this push.
Killing spree. Double kill.
Fuck. Marcy also, Marcy tried to save me and then got shanked herself. Urza's hitting his power spike because he has Blink and now he has BKB, so he's getting pretty strong. Medusa has a pretty good free farming game. Like, I secured the lane for her pretty well. And we got a double kill in lane. So she should, in theory, have more. Okay, I'm gonna get a ghost because I think that's just the only thing that I need until he gets a nullifier. I have to be really cautious. We don't have vision here at all. That's partly my fault for sure. Yeah, kill him. He's so out of position, bro. Oh, that was super close. Wow. I think there were some missed chances there. Yeah, we're live. We're live, Ben. Welcome to the stream. That was super close. Good thing Medusa lived there. That was just luck. That was evasion. Well, 35% evasion. It's not little. Welcome to the stream, Mortgage Mate. How was your day? Hope it was good. Hope everything was well.
You really should look at your bottom tower. Your bottom tower has fallen.
Excited to have you here, man. Actually, I had one streamer, but I was talking to myself about a bunch of things, but we reviewed some stuff about divorce, and just a whole bunch of other things. Actually, I think I could produce a lot of good clips out of there. Yeah, this is something I think that's important that we should discuss, in one of these episodes, that men aren't really kind to each other, because we just don't get that from society in general. We're not allowed that free pass, if you will. So if we're not kind to each other, if people are not kind to us, then, we exacerbate that by not being kind to each other. Like, it gets even worse. Sorry, it's just concentrating a little bit, but yeah. So I think it's really, really important to be kind to yourself, man. Like you can, if you think about it like this, if you're in the gutter, and you feel like you're in the gutter, but you continuously tell yourself in the gutter to reinforce that behavior, then fuck. Yeah, so make sure that you take some time for yourself to be kind to yourself, man. Like I think it's really, really important. Okay, Vino died. That's not good. I did not think he was gonna go defend that. Medusa has to get out of there. It's like 5-on-1 right now, and she's just not strong enough to be able to do that. Getting closer, though, with her items. I think I should just go big items, so I'll go this. I'll go this. I'm sorry you had a rough day. I do, you know, I feel for you. I obviously know what it's like. I think you have to, yeah, show yourself a little bit more kindness sometimes. Show yourself a little bit more grace, even though the world may not do that for you at times. You have to do that for yourself. Get fucked. There we go. You know, my general rule of thumb is do one nice thing for yourself every day. Or try to anyways. I think you deserve it. It's important that you do that. Okay, that was a really good fight for us. Just narrating this a little bit. They did get Roche, but we got rid of the Aegis. Like you could see, we killed Urza. I made a mistake. I should have Ice Path where he was rezzing so that we could kill him twice, because then we probably would get Rax right now. What a fucking retard. No wonder he loses games. Pardon my language. I'm getting a little toxic here, but this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, 2 people down here and then like, they're not even pushing this wave through. Yeah. I know it's a turbo, so I shouldn't take it too seriously, but, you know, when you're trying to win, the game is... That was fucking stupid. Yeah, so, like, what's gonna happen now, right? Oh my god.
Your bottom tower is under attack. This is not cool. Your bottom
In all fairness, I'm playing this horribly. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I'm Thompson or something and making really good moves. My positioning is terrible. Getting caught out a bunch. I should be able to cycle through like a ton of my spells.
The enemy's middle tower won't be making any more appearances.
I don't think she should go.
Killing spree. Double kill. Dominating. Triple kill. You really need to do something about your middle barracks have fallen. Let's talk about it. Your top barracks won't last long at this rate.
I don't know, buyback?
Your top barracks have fallen.
Ah, this guy's a... Oh my god. Okay, at least we didn't get Megan,
Your middle tower
I guess, but they're gonna get Roche now.
Your middle tower is under attack. is under attack. You will never.
G fucking G, but not really. We should have won that. Oh well. Happens, I guess. That's unfortunate. Welcome to the stream.
seconds remaining.
Let's see here.
Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Prepare for battle.
Let my vengeance soar.
30 seconds to battle.
I am there.
The battle is starting.
I fly on the wings of war. I am not arguing. Faster. As you
Okay, I'm body blocking.
tower is under attack.
Okay, I think that's it for the stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you enjoyed that game. I did not play well at all tonight, so don't copy me. Take care.